It's not okay to ban books. Civilized societies don't ban books. So resist, damn it. Resist.
Let's welcome to the stage the incomparable LeVar Burton! Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you too,
Thank
Tony.
you. Have you had a chance to celebrate at all? I mean, it's been such a busy day today, so not at all. But tonight.
There's been no celebration so far.
Yeah. I haven't even gotten a text.
Unless you count this as a celebration.
Absolutely. There you go. Not one of my kids has texted me today.
Let me see.
It's pretty terrible, right? What's going on with this?
Tony, I think we're over.
I know. You and I are just going to hang out afterwards. Let's just do that.
I got no Father's Day text.
Oh. Hey, text your dad.
From my children. Well, there you go.
There you go. All right. It's only going up from here, so. Brother, man, I'm super excited, super honored. We're all honored to be able to spend a few moments with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I got to say that Star Trek has been, it's been a part of my life since I was so young. As a young child, my older brother got me into, of course, the original series.
Right.
And, when I watched that original series, the first thing I saw was that, there's an Asian dude flying that ship, and he quickly became my favorite character. And because I grew up in this town in Texas where I was like the only minority, and so to see that sort of representation on screen really meant a lot to me. And so when I heard that they were restarting Next Generation, now I'm in high school, and when that first episode I remember came on and experiencing it, just I immediately gravitated towards you and even to Data, because you knew what it's like to be different and to be understood how important representation was. And so I just got to say that thank you so much for just I know that it was at the time it was a partner role, but you inspired a whole generation, and you continue to do so.
As Nichelle did for my generation.
Yeah.
Representation matters.
It does matter.
It matters.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult, if not impossible, to grow up with a positive self-image unless you see yourself represented in the popular culture. It's brutal. It is brutal. So. But
I remember, we'll jump into Star Trek for sure. But I got to ask you, even again as a young age, my first time I ever saw you was when you played Kunta Kinte in Roots, and you were just a kid. Just a kid, and so. But that, there's been no role like that ever since. And so tell us, as a young kid, how did you get that role? And were you already aspiring to be an actor in the entertainment industry?
Yeah. I was enrolled at the University of Southern California, USC, in Los Angeles. You're from Orange County. You know USC.
Yeah.
Fight on, yes. Where are my Trojans? Woohoo! My Trojan. Yeah. And I was a theater major, and as a sophomore, there was a notice on the call board one afternoon that there was a mini-series, nobody knew what a mini-series was, called Roots, and they were looking to see young black actors. And there were 3 of us in the drama school at that point that went out on the audition, and I kept progressing, and so Roots was my first professional audition, and it not only changed my life, but it changed the way America looks at chattel slavery in this country. So that's the power of storytelling.
And even after many decades, I'm sure you've had many people, generations, come to you and just tell you how much it has changed their lives.
Absolutely. I've been really lucky, Tony, in my career, to have been involved in media, certainly, that is entertaining. That's the job, but that has also brought a little bit more to the table in terms of enlightenment, maybe, certainly education, right?
Well, speaking of education, Reading Rainbow, 20, over 2 decades of Reading Rainbow.
Right?
Yeah, and someone holding up a Reading Rainbow shirt.
Woohoo!
Yeah. It's incredible, right? Like when you're doing the show, you're not thinking, oh, it's going to have this huge cultural following. You're thinking you're educating kids, and but it's like it's a phenomenon. It's crazy.
It was. A couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of Reading Rainbow. Our first episode was 1983, June of 1983.
What's your fondest memories as you look back on, the 2 decades of Reading Rainbow? Like, what's your fondest memory?
Oh man, so many. Because it was the greatest job in the world, traveling around, meeting the interesting people that we interviewed, doing the amazing things we did. I mean, standing at the summit of Kilauea in mid-eruption for Hill of Fire episode. Flew a plane for Ruth Law, Thrills a Nation. That was me landing that plane, y'all. That was me landing that plane. Learned to dive, became a Naui diver to shoot dive to the coral reefs in the Florida Keys. I mean, just so many great adventures, right? It was a great job.
And I'm sure you did a lot of growing up during that period. And so how do you feel like you were changed from the day you started to when that completed?
When we started Reading Rainbow, I didn't have children, right? And then when my son was born, who is 42 now, it's 38 now. Do the math. Once he was born, I started talking to him through the lens of the camera. And that really, I cherish that process of being able to speak, specifically to my son. Yeah.
We'll get to audience questions in a moment. So you see there's microphones over there. Yes, Star Trek. Wow, where do you even begin? Right?
We'll begin at Picard season 3.
Oh, there you go, dude. I'm sure everyone here says the same thing, but it's like every episode, my mind was blowing. Every episode, I just could not believe it.
Yeah.
So, tell us about the experience of doing Picard season 3, being back together with the team, and what was that like?
We dared not think that this was ever going to happen. In fact, I was convinced it never would. I mean, that ship had sailed, right? So this was a complete surprise. And even though Jonathan, Marina, and Brent were in seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, Patrick sat us all. He bought us all dinner, took us all out to dinner, and said, he said, I'm going to do this thing. I'm returning to Star Trek, but it's Picard. It's, we want to do a completely different thing. Read it between the lines. You're not in it. Actually, he was more explicit than that. He said, you're not in it. It's just me. So when it became clear that this really was part of the plan for season 3, it was very exciting. And hats off to Terry Matalas and all of the writers. It was glorious. Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, and maybe some people in the audience maybe haven't seen it, was there a...
What are you waiting for?
I know, right? It's
so good.
Is there a particular favorite moment from season 3, or maybe it's again behind the scenes or something that you were cherished? All
of us being together again in our spacesuits, Working with my kid was pretty special.
Yes.
Having Mika Burton along for the ride was very, very cool. She's known the cast her whole life. So to see her earn her bones in that company was really pretty cool. It was a nice parent moment. I guess I would wake up early and go in early because she always had an earlier call. Chicks do. for the makeup and hair guys, with the exception of Michael Dorn. The guys, you know, didn't spend a whole lot of time in the makeup chair, but I really wanted to relish every single moment. So driving to work with her every morning was really part of the experience for me.
What a moment, like it's an experience that only guys will have and cherish forever. So it's incredible.
You know, there's a lot of chatter about, you know, what might happen, what could happen next with Legacy, and I'm absolutely fine if this is it. Then we went out on a high note that, as I said, never expected to happen. So it's all grits and gravy, as we say in my family.
Well, the production team did such a phenomenal job.
Dave Glass, the production
incredible.
designer.
The recreation of the Enterprise D just was
that was a good
perfect.
One. That was a nice
it was perfect. From the viewer standpoint, it looked immaculate and perfect. But as you walked on set and on stage, did it feel like you were just right back in it?
It was like being in a time machine, Tony, because we reverted. You know how, like, when you get together with your high school friends or your college friends, right, and you're right back there, right? It was like that, being on that set, being on the bridge of the Enterprise D again was really, you know, Patrick got, you know, much sillier. It was extraordinary. And I don't think any of us were really prepared for how emotional it would be. We filmed, I think, 3 days on that set, I think. It was quite extraordinary. Yeah.
Well, you know, as you look back on the decades of playing Geordi and where Star Trek has gone, all the places, and how it's just boldly gone to every corner of the universe. As you reflect back on it, like, what are your thoughts of the character? Like, what are your thoughts of, you know, what it has meant to you, and what has, like, Star Trek meant to you over the years? Because, you know, as you've already alluded to, when you're young, you're thinking one thing, and then you're in career mode, and then you get into kids mode, and then you know, and then you have grown kids mode, so you change. And so, as you changed, how has your appreciation of Star Trek changed?
Well, I think that's really pretty much reflected in Geordi's character arc in season 3 of Picard. Because when Terry, you know, when we had our first conversation about Geordi being in the 3rd season, and he asked, "Is there anything you would like to see?" Right, in terms of his progression as a character, and I knew immediately what I wanted to address, and that was the fact that Geordi didn't have healthy relationships with women, right? In Booby Trap, he was pretty much a stalker. He stalked Dr. Leah Brahms, and that's not cool. Man, the man created a holographic image of the woman and then dated her. That's like, no, that's not okay.
Don't cancel Geordi, okay? Don't cancel Geordi.
So it was really important for me to rehabilitate Geordi's canon, right, where women were concerned. And I said I wanted him to be a family man. I wanted him to have a healthy family relationships. And Terry did me one better, and he gave Geordi not one, but 2 daughters. And that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Amazing, yeah. So before we get into our audience questions, can you take us back to when you were first cast as Geordi La Forge? Was from the very beginning, I assume that they had plans for him to be blind with the visor.
Yeah.
But that character kind of morphed and shifted a little bit.
A little bit.
So tell us about the early days of Geordi and how you got comfortable in his shoes or in his visor.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I hadn't, as an actor, I hadn't wanted anything like Kunta ever until Geordi came along. I really, really, really wanted that gig. I wanted that part. I grew up watching the original series with my family. Seeing Michelle Nichols was really important to me. Let me know that there was a place for me and people who looked like me when the future came. So getting that job was like, I was so happy to be along for that ride and to be able to meet Gene and express my love and admiration for what he had created. The very first scene I read was a two-hander with Geordi and Data, and they identified in the scene. It never made it to the show, but they wrote it for the auditions. Geordi and Data in the scene formed a team that they called the Perceivers, because Geordi's eyes and Data's brain saw the world in a very similar way. They saw the world for what it was, with no illusions. And I loved that. What survived was the relationship between Data and Geordi, that they had that real bond. And part of what Brent and I played all of those years was the Perceivers, which y'all never knew about.
Yeah, inevitably, fans ask questions about. They always ask a couple of the same questions, and so let's throw these out of the way. So, favorite episode or moment or scene for Geordi over the years?
I don't know. I think like my favorite episode of Next Gen is Second Chances, not because of the character Geordi, but because it was my first episode as a director, and I had two Jonathan Frakes. One Jonathan Frakes is a lot. Two Frakes in an episode is really it's not fun. He is awesome and was awesome.
I always hope we see Thomas Riker again somewhere, appearing somewhere.
He's out there. Yeah.
All right, let's go with our questions here.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Tell us your name, your how many awesome cons it's been, and your question.
All right. Hi, my name is Tim from Alexandria. This is my 9th Awesome Con.
Wow, way to go.
And first I want to thank you for being a huge part of my childhood with Reading Rainbow and The Next Generation. I especially loved the episode of Reading Rainbow where you took us on the tour of the Enterprise. That combined two of my loves. And my brother was a huge influence on me getting into The Next Generation. And anyway, my question is, relating to the episode Identity Crisis, my high school physics teacher actually wrote the script to that episode. So I was wondering what you thought of the episode.
Tim, are you still in touch with your teacher?
Yes, I am.
All right. Would you tell your teacher for me that being a lizard, freaking high point of my career, man.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we have a mic over here, so go ahead.
Hi, my name is Liam, and this is my first con.
Yeah.
All right, Liam.
My question is, what inspired you to do Star Trek?
Well, like I said, I was a huge fan. I watched Star Trek. I watched the original series with my family during the 60s and in the 70s, like all the time. So I was really, really thrilled to audition. It's kind of difficult to explain how much Star Trek has meant to me in my life, and then to have gone on and become a member of that storytelling has truly been amazing, really remarkable. I feel incredibly fortunate, very blessed.
Remember back in the days when there was no DVR, no TiVo,
right.
no VHS, anything.
Right.
And you just had to catch it when it was on.
When it was on.
Right?
That's right.
And when it was on, it was like, hey, Star Trek is on. And
or in reruns.
Yeah, reruns, right.
Or in reruns.
And everyone's having to watch it because you didn't know when it was going to come out again or whatever.
Right.
And
hey, Liam,
Yes.
Enjoying Awesome Con?
Yes.
But here's the question. Will you be back next year?
Yes, probably.
all right. He gave a probably. Not 100% committed, but he's keeping his options open.
He's keeping his options open, but it's likely he'll be back.
Yeah, here you go. Hi.
Hi, my name is Heatherly, This is my fourth or fifth or something awesome con. I have a question for you about book banning.
About who?
My question, in my town and in towns across America, people are banning books because they acknowledge
they're idiots.
they acknowledge that racism exists. The books acknowledge that racism exists, that queer people are real, that sex is a part of the human experience. What do you think is the best way to fight back against book banning?
Fight back. Don't go for the okey doke, right? It's not okay to ban books. Civilized societies don't ban books. So resist, damn it. Resist.
So we'd love to ask, do you have a favorite book in your past that you can return back to, and or do you have a current book that you would like to recommend people to check out? It could be any topic on anything.
Well, when I got what reading was, Tony, I was like in the third, fourth grade, and the book was Captains Courageous by Rudyard Kipling. And I remember at the end of the book, I turned the last page, I closed the book, and for the next couple of days, I had this profound sense of missing that world that I was in. To this day, when I'm reading a particularly good piece of fiction, I slow down the last few chapters to forestall that inevitable sense of depression. I didn't know what it was then. I know what it is now. It's depression, right? I'm leaving that world that I've become completely enmeshed in, and there's a profound sadness that descends. That's what reading is all about for me, losing myself in a good story. Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
Happy Father's Day, to start off with. My name is Billy. I have to crouch a little bit. This is my third awesome con based in DC. So when I think about your career, I think about roles that center around social justice, teaching us how to make the world a better place. Big fan of Captain Planet, by the way.
Let our powers combine.
So along that vein, what do you want to continue to teach us and teach humanity about social justice and about what we can do to make this world better?
What a great question. I think it's important to really learn how to be a human being, right? And for me, human beings have empathy and compassion for other people. That's why I think reading is so important. It introduces you to different ways of looking at the world, different people who inhabit it, different ideas and ways to look at life. It's not that complicated. Just be a good damned human being.
Thank you so much. Hi. Go ahead.
Hi.
Is that a cape you're wearing?
Yes.
Nice. I could never get away with wearing a cape, but you pull it off.
Thanks.
I don't know. Geordi with a cape would have been pretty fly. That would
Think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would have been fly.
Agreed.
You could make that up.
Note for the costumers, if Legacy ever gets underground.
My name is Tyler. I believe this is my 8th Awesome Con. And I had a question regarding, I recently just got and started the autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr. that you narrated and won a Grammy for. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to know how was your experience basically narrating and talking through the life of such a great civil rights leader.
It was incredibly intimidating. And ultimately a lot of fun. I think what people forget, because he was such an amazing orator, was that King was a beautiful writer. I mean, that man could write his ass off. He really could. And I was reminded of that while reading some of his speeches in the book. The man organized his ideas in such an eloquent, elegant manner. If you haven't read any of his speeches, do yourself a favor. They're quite inspiring, and he really does speak to the heart of what being a good human being looks like, smells like, tastes like, sounds like. King had it right.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi. My name's Dominic. It's, I think, my 4th AwesomeCon. And I want to preface this by saying I've been really impressed by these very deep philosophical questions that have been asked and feel very bad I'm about to ask a silly one. Do you recall how you were approached for the appearance of the entire TNG cast in Family Guy to cameo when you were all kidnapped by Stewie?
I remember being very excited, because who doesn't love Family Guy, right? Yeah, I was stoked. I don't know if you guys know this, but in a situation like that, rarely are you all in the same room at the same time. You record your part separately. So I couldn't wait to see the episode, to see what everybody else was doing. I don't think I read the script. I read the pages, so I had no idea about the curly straw. I was completely caught off guard by the crazy straw, which was good. I think it's nice to be surprised in life, don't you think?
Do you recall the first time you saw Encounter at Farpoint, like what you were doing when you saw it for the very first time? Saw yourself on screen?
I think, I'd seen myself on screen before, so that wasn't a surprise. Seeing myself on screen with my eyes covered, however, that was new. There must have been a screening before we came on air. There must have been. I just remember being, I was in Star Trek, man. Come on. It was like amazing. Amazing.
Hi, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Liam, and I was just going to ask, what was your favorite... What?
How many awesome cons you've seen?
Sorry.
Everybody else.
This is my first one.
Okay.
Ah, there you go.
Fair enough.
And I was just going to ask, what was your favorite Star Trek episode of Next Generation, preferably, that you worked on?
That I worked on, aside from Second Chances, you mean?
Yeah.
I always liked the holodeck episodes,
those were fun.
The Holmes and Watson episodes in particular, and the Robin Hood. The Robin Hood episode was actually a lot of fun.
Get to dress up, get to play, yeah.
Right.
Very
it's like being at a con.
There should have been a Comic-Con episode where they went to a Comic-Con on the holodeck. That would have been perfect.
They did that in Galaxy Quest.
They did, that's right, yeah. They did. Great show, another great show. Fantastic show.
Fun fact, the man who directed Galaxy Quest, Dean Paraso, was the videographer. He was the director of photography for several years on Reading Rainbow.
All right, let's shoot over here. Go for it.
Happy Father's Day, brother.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Who is that in your arms?
This is Peyton, and this is our first Awesome Con.
First of many, hopefully.
So my name is Cameron. This is my 4th Awesome Con. And my question is, what void did you think was left behind with the cancellation of Reading Rainbow?
What void was left behind? Well, I still think that there is a place for technology and education. We proved that with the reboot of Reading Rainbow as an app on tablet computers. I think that, unfortunately, there aren't that kind of educational programs for kids. What I mean is stealth education, right? Where you're learning when you really aren't aware how much you're absorbing. I wish there was more programming like that for kids, and I certainly feel that Reading Rainbow fits into that category. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And happy Father's Day again.
Hi, I'm Amanda. For the last 2 years, my husband and I have spent our anniversary weekend here at AwesomeCon, so this is my second. Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Married 21 years.
Wow.
And they said it wouldn't last.
They literally did.
There's a little anger in her voice.
She got a little bit of anger, yeah.
We had to deal with racism because my husband is mixed, so that was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not related to that, but it's actually related to the question the gentleman before me asked. I'm a big fan. I was 5 when Reading Rainbow came on. I grew up with you. All of a sudden I see in Next Generation, hey, it's the Reading Rainbow guy. And so you were a big part of my life, favorite character in the Star Trek universe. But my question goes along with his. I would love to see you do more projects, and I know you're big in charity, but do you have any projects that coming up that help with literacy? I know I'm a big fan of you and Dolly Parton because of that. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4, and you were a big, important part of my life because I'm an avid reader. And what sort of projects do you see for the future for you and encouraging literacy among children and people of all ages?
Well, right now I am executive producer of a documentary that is out called The Right to Read, which frames early childhood literacy as a civil right. Right now in America, 1/3 of all 4th graders cannot read at grade level, are functionally illiterate. About 20, 25 years ago, we abandoned scientifically based, phonics-centered instruction for something called whole language. And that boondoggle has been the bane of my existence for the last quarter century. So the documentary is out, and that's a part of where my focus is right now. After spending so many years encouraging literacy in children, I'm simply devoting my time now to making sure kids learn how to read properly.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. This is my first AwesomeCon. I'm a licensed DC history guide, and I took off today. I turned down tours to come be here with you to have the chance for this question. I'm so thrilled you're here for Juneteenth. I wish I could say the DC tour guide community was more diverse. African heritage guides are only in the dozens. There are maybe a dozen each Asian.
In Chocolate City?
Yes. There are maybe a dozen each Asian, Latino, Jewish American guides. I'm the only Korean heritage licensed guide.
This is insane.
Yeah. Happy to help you, Tony, with the rest of your trip here. So.
I asked them what should I do tomorrow. And so.
Yes, earlier in the day.
I got you.
So we have all persisted and persevered while paying the price at different times for telling whole history tours, for daring to tell the whole story of large-scale human traffickers like George Washington. And we've been removed from student touring groups. We've had social media slander, but still we persist. And when I do that, I try to help my guests visualize context, times, and history by referring to great Hollywood productions like The Help, Solomon Northrop, 12 Years a Slave, and your production of Roots. I did not think the original Roots could be improved upon, but you gave a broader, richer, deeper story. I just used it doing an Underground Railroad tour yesterday in Leesburg, Virginia. And because it's Juneteenth, I don't know if people here realize this, but we're an 8-block walk from the archives where the original Emancipation Proclamation is only on display this weekend.
It toured about 10 years ago. It came to the Reagan Library in Southern California. I wept.
Mm-hmm. It's a very fragile document. The new archivist under our current president is trying to make the necessary storage changes for it to be on permanent display. But I'm curious as to, are there personal traditions you've developed regarding how you celebrate Juneteenth? And also, Band of Brothers plays every Memorial Day, Veterans Day weekend on TV. And I'm of the humble opinion, no one's asking me in Hollywood, at programming, but your Roots should be played every MLK and Juneteenth weekend.
I think that the tradition that I observe more than any other is doing whatever the hell I want to do because my ancestors bled and died for it. And this weekend I get to be with y'all, so not bad.
Thank you so much.
My name is Joe. This is my 4th Awesome Con, I believe, and the rest of my family is here too.
Happy Father's Day, Joe.
Thank you very much. To you as well.
Thank you, sir.
It's their 2nd or 3rd Awesome Con for the rest of them. I was wondering, you've been connected to the written word for a long part of your career. You've been connected to science fiction for a long part of your career. You wrote a science fiction novel. You were doing all of these things, any one of which would be a full-time job, I think, for most writers or actors. That would be the only thing they would work on, and yet you were doing a lot of them concurrently. So I was kind of curious, specifically, did writing Aftermath give you any kind of insight into like the job that the writers on Star Trek were doing, or any other writers that you worked with? And how in the world did you balance all of these commitments while you were doing them all at the same time?
The universe is expanding.
He used the inverse tachyon pulse, and he...
You know what? I consider at this point in my life that, unbeknownst to me, my end game was becoming a storyteller. And what that means to me is I'm able to make a living as an actor, as a writer, as a director, as a producer, as a podcaster, and public speaker. My job is to tell stories, and I'm blessed to be able to do that in a lot of different modalities. I don't do them all at the same time. Sometimes they overlap in a singular job, but I get to do them, but not all at the same time, which is good. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Great.
Maybe
Thank you.
don't.
This might be our last question. We're running out of time.
Really?
Yeah. That's what the...
Oh my goodness!
It's either
there's
a bomb or it's a
clock.
timer.
Right,
so,
right
yeah.
there. It's been staring me in the face this entire time.
Yeah. All right, go.
You get the last question.
Okay.
Don't suck.
No pressure, no pressure.
All right, my name is Townsend, and this is my son, Christopher. This is my 5th Awesome Con with my adult child, and my first Awesome Con with his daughter, Mary Emma, who was 18 months old.
Wow. 3 generations of the same family at Awesome Con.
That's the next generation right there.
That's the next generation right there.
I want to thank you for reading Rainbow. It was actually June 6, 1983 that it came out. He was raised on reading Rainbow. He was born in 82. And I'm just so grateful to you for reading Rainbow. I would also like to ask a compound question, and the first of which is, what is the most challenging role you have done? And the second is, what is the most meaningful role that you have done?
Roots, Kunta Kinte, most challenging. Most fulfilling, being the host of Reading Rainbow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Before I go, y'all, do me a favor. Let's sing the Reading Rainbow theme song. Anybody up for that? Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book.
Reading Rainbow.
God bless you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Wilson Cruz from Star Trek Discovery, and you're watching Fandom Spotlite. Be sure to like and share, plus have fun and follow your fandom. Doctor's orders.